Over the last couple of weeks, the production rate at my suburban mine has been at its highest yet. I am currently quarrying stone for building a castle. I was welding in my storm shelter and I forgot to shut off the shielding gas. We could have a deadly situation.
And I have told her, other people have told her, she will not listen to us. Winch was set up funny, and professionals are like, hey, you should really do it a different way. And she blocked them, and then it broke. She was welding with plastic behind it.
No, a new drawback using fiberglass rebar. Apologize for the poor camera work. This is my first time using a fire extinguisher.
She had made really clear that her neighbors had no idea what was going on. I decided to try and figure out who those neighbors were. I began contacting them. Most of them are Spanish language speakers, and not one knew about this tunnel project.
Take a look.
Sure. They did give me a stop work order and are requiring an immediate evaluation by a professional engineer.
So we're going to be kicking off the new year right. Happy New Year's, everyone. We're talking about Tunnel Girl, aka I think it is Carla. I don't often hear her pronounce her name. Who is over on TikTok, and I need to talk about it. I need to talk about it because it is all the rage over on TikTok. It has perked my interest. It's basically this woman who lives in West Virginia who is building a tunnel underneath her house.
As it got deeper underground, I ran into a lot of groundwater and a spring which made work harder and required constant pumping. Eventually, I set up a sump basin and a pump which is keeping the system dry. The main chamber is 22 feet below ground.
Now, some may say a tunnel, that can't be that bad. And to be honest, she started it out because she wanted it to be a shelter. And then it then turned into, I want it to be a mine. She even built her own, one of those mine cart thingy-majiggies to literally like an elevator shaft. This woman has been she's been welding, she has been doing the pumping with the water, with the pumping out. She has literally hit water underneath her house, and I believe she said that she's quite honestly gone 22 feet from the surface.
I am about to embark on a new and complex project. I'm planning to construct a storm shelter off the side of my basement.
It has basically gone from, a shelter to a mine, to basically wanting to mine for rocks so that she can build a castle around her house or onto her house. Either way, according to her, she was an IT software engineer, something along those lines, and this is what she does in her free time to alleviate the mental workload of her job, and she really enjoys it, and this is something she likes to do. Now, she has garnered a lot of interest. A lot of interest has gone on to this Engineer.everything tunnel lady. She's quite literally called Tunnel Girl, and a lot of people are backing her up, and they're saying, it's underneath your house, you can do whatever you want.
Fire extinguisher is at hand. I am covering my safety boots with my pants to avoid burns, turning off the ventilation to reduce oxygen. I have sheets of steel ready to block the entrance in case of uncontrolled fire.
I'm the most unpractical person on this planet. Practicality is not my skill, okay? So this is literally coming from somebody who can just see this for what it is. If you want to chime in and really teach everyone just how dangerous this could be, then please, by all means, my comment section is your thought box, okay? You can do whatever you want. So Tunnel Girl has ran into quite a few problems in the past over a year of doing this. So she has ran into problems of starting fires. She has left gas on or not checked levels or whatever's been going on, so she could have, that could have ended pretty badly. She is also, as she's been mining for the rocks have fallen nearly onto her, crushing her.
I was picking this rock up from the ground, and this other one fell from the ceiling suddenly without warning. Approximately 4-foot drop. Closer to my wrist or fingers, it's possible I could have broken a bone.
Which obviously none of this is funny, none of this is a good thing, but the overriding consensus is Well, she must have a lot of land. She must not have any neighbours to be doing this. I mean, who would want to be living near this tunnel mining construction site? No one I know. I don't want to be a neighbour having to deal with the possibility of a sinkhole opening up. But it's actually come to fruition that this may not be the case. So, according to an NBC News article, it said Carla said she is only building under her property and is not digging under her neighbour's home. She described her relationship with her neighbours as respectful and said they were well aware of my crazy antics. She said she takes steps to mitigate any nuisances to avoid complaints, such as minimising any surface vibrations whilst digging. Now, in terms of the legality of her project, Carla declined to get into any specific detail about any permits she may have obtained, but she says she is following the rules for building emergency shelters in her local jurisdiction, which she said are different from the regulations around other habitable spaces inside a home. Embassy News reviewed the local jurisdictions code, which states certain emergency shelters on residential properties, they must fit within certain guidelines. Now, what is quite interesting about this is that she did start it off by saying she was building a shelter, which then went into a mine, literally a mine underneath her house. And then it then went into, I'm trying to mine to build a castle. So it has switched during the time period that she has been building. Now, before I get on to what is next going to be happening, if you are a Engineer.everything fan, I can understand why. Okay, she has taught herself some amazing skills. I could personally never. She has also, been semi-educational in teaching people on how to do these things. Is it safety? I wouldn't say it's particularly very safe. Even from not even an amateur, even from a nobody amateur, I know nothing about anything. But what I will go on to say, it doesn't matter how influential she may be. It doesn't matter how amazing really the project that she's managed to achieve. However, if she's wanting to endanger the life of her and the well-being of her own house, you know what? If you're going to do that, not a great idea, but you can do it. We are our own people. The problem is that as we're about to find out, her neighbours did not know any of this was happening. Not only this, but the people on the Reddit, because there now is actually a snark Reddit thread for this woman, it states that the lot is 0.25 acres. That is a quarter of an acre. That is not a lot. And apparently she is surrounded by neighbours. So you would think that one may have thought that the neighbours should have been told about this. I mean, if you're going to be undergoing this project of this magnitude, you probably want to alert the neighbours, because it's not only going to impact your home, it could also impact the other homes surrounding you, which is the reason why not everyone can just start digging willy-nilly down below.
They're not blind, but they didn't know. They had no idea. Hi, my name is Aura Abogado, and I'm an investigative reporter. Several weeks ago, after I noticed that Kayla had posted a video of one of her neighbors without his consent, and that she had made really clear that her neighbors had no idea what was going on, I decided to try and figure out who those neighbors were.
Which already makes no sense, because it literally said in that article when they were interviewing her that she'd already told her neighbors and the neighbors were fully aware of what was going on.
So I found out where she lived, and I noticed that almost all of her neighbors are Central American migrants or first-gen immigrants. Began contacting them. Most of them are Spanish language speakers, and not one knew about this tunnel project. They're really worried about their health and their safety. They talked to me about noise, like tremendous noise, essentially noise pollution, and shaking, like just random shaking in the ground that they didn't realize where it was coming from. Several neighbors expressed to me that they were worried about reporting anything because they don't want to get entangled with immigration authorities and they don't want to be deported. So those are some of the stakes for the neighbors here.
Now, up until this point, there was a little bit of noise, but it was basically being overshadowed by the sheer volume of supporters that this lady has. There were people who were speaking from all areas of expertise, giving their own opinions. Some of them were allegedly being blocked. whilst others were just trying to warn her that, try and not do this, let's do this, trying to give her a bit of advice. As by this point, about over a year on, Engineer.everything, Tunnel Lady, she was not going to be stopping for no one. Up until this reporter stepped in and had actually contacted the neighbours. And just as she said, they had no idea about the project, but they are now really quite concerned. And they kind of knew that something was going on. And considering her house is quite literally on a quarter of an acre and the houses are pretty darn close to each other, I'm just so shocked and surprised that something really quite terrible hasn't already happened. Once again, very little knowledge. I just know that building a underground chamber 22 feet beneath the surface might not be the greatest idea. And of course, you have to then put into consideration that now they didn't want to speak up because they were really scared of, immigration and being in trouble, and just getting tangled. Whether or not they would actually be in trouble, completely separate thing. But this is something that has now become quite a hot topic and is something that Tunnel Lady has been responding to. And she's not very happy with this whole situation.
Are you sure that's what they said? They're from the city? Yeah, I'm not available right now.
They said it's excavation. Then you're pulling stuff out of the basement.
Yeah, a little bit. So they did give me a stop work order and are requiring an immediate evaluation by a professional engineer. Contrary to few rumors here, it is constructed entirely below the slab of my house, and it shouldn't be too hard to get the permits and approval.
So the tweet originally read by the journalist. She said, "I spoke with Carla the Tunnel Girl's migrant neighbours last month, the same neighbours she poked fun of for being ignorant of what she was doing. They were worried about their safety. I know some began lodging complaints after we talked. Carla now says inspectors shut her down." And shut her down they have. Now, I don't think we've actually heard anything back from Carla in regards to whether or not the project is still going on, but she has been responding to people within the comment sections talking about this whole situation. So someone wrote, "Feeling so disappointed after hearing from investigative reporter that most of Carla's neighbours are Central American migrants. Power dynamics here stink of white privilege." So she then replied, "She is unethical and injecting her own concerns into their minds. I get along well with my neighbours and have lived here for many years, totally exaggerated. But the thing is, Carla, is that you didn't tell your neighbours. In one moment you're saying you have, the next you haven't. This doesn't just affect you, this also affects everyone around you." The commenter then wrote back with, "I found her remarks objective. Respectfully, Carla, as a Latina and immigrant myself, I find your comment reply insensitive and lacking of understanding of what underprivileged groups have to go through." See, I do, as well as the issue with literally safety, like you could open up a sinkhole underneath other people's homes, like a whole plethora of things, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to point out. As well as that, we do have, this issue with the fact that her neighbours didn't want to speak out because they were afraid of, the immigration system. They were afraid of being entangled in it. And that is a really big thing that has to also be spoken about. Were they kind of silenced into it? Carla goes on to write, "I do understand the underprivileged part. What I don't understand is the complaint of dust and noise, especially the asthma allegation. See, there is no dust or pollution from my project." She also says, "Yes, there is noise, but I have been making many attempts at mitigating it out of respect for the neighbours. This reporter came in with these concerns and now they are worried. I would be too." Well, yeah, because you weren't very straightforward of what exactly you were doing with this whole mining project. It's not just that, but it's also the whole planning permission side of it. She obviously didn't get a permit or approval from anywhere to be able to undergo this. And once again, if we took all of this away and we just saw this woman who was doing this extraordinarily large project all on her own, or at least I think parts of it she did have a little bit of help for, but for the most part she's doing it on her own. You would think, wow, especially if, you know, if she lives on her own plot of land, she was away from anyone else, if she was doing that, fine. You know, we see a lot of people doing this kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that where she's living, she's got to be able to get some sort of planning permission or permit or approval or something. And even then, I still don't think they're going to approve, even for the project that she's done. Is she going to have to fill it all in? I hear that could be a possibility. People could come around and literally just start undoing the work that she's done. But for all we know, it could have already have started problems underneath the house. Someone else wrote, I was all for this until I learned there are neighbours involved, and Carla said, they are not. The impact on the neighbours is not more than any other construction project. Outsider is calling them one by one, freaking them out. Unfortunate. And upon someone asking, why didn't you just get the permits and approval before starting, Carla gets really quite defensive over here. And I think it just really goes to show exactly what her mindset has been this whole entire time. Maybe because it is my property and I had all the utilities marked many times, there is no gas to my house anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's illegal as far as invasives go, and that just tells you what kind of neighbor she is.
In all funsies though, I will be following this because I am heavily invested, and I think I'm just going to start incorporating these things that I find over on TikTok, since, you know, I do spend quite a lot of my time over there not creating, just browsing, and this kind of stuff really does intrigue me. So yeah, I really am quite eager to see where this will go. My own opinion, I don't think this is going to go ahead. I don't think this is going to get approved, but what do you guys think? Please let me know if you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit something different, but 2024, I'm ready to spice things up and just add some new things to the catalogue. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.